Chapter 3488, Swish Swish Swish. Hello Dragon King. Silhouettes slowly appeared on the surrounding trees. A dozen of them flew over and greeted Wang Xian. Hello. Wang Xian swept his gaze across them and nodded with a smile. 13 of them. Each of them had the combat strength of a Universe Lord. One of them was a second-order Universe Lord. There were only two purebred divine dragons, Azure Dragon Moon and the second-order Universe Lord. They were both purebred divine dragons. Other than them, Wang Xian sensed that one of them should be a pinnacle divine dragon with what attributes. Dragon King, let me introduce you. This is my senior, Azure Dragon Shadow. This is Azure Dragon Moon introduced them to Wang Xian. I've heard a lot about you. Haha, we should be the ones who have heard a lot about you. Dragon King, you forced the 100 Cities Alliance to this state with your strength alone. Impressive. Azure Dragon Shadow chuckled. We're just taking advantage of the situation. Wang Xian replied modestly. There's no such thing as taking advantage of the situation in a war. The strength of the Dragon Palace is undeniable. We have great respect for you, Dragon King. Azure Dragon Shadow chuckled. Wang Xian chuckled and exchanged some pleasantries. Following which, they flew in a certain direction. The group of them stood on a wooden ship. The ship wasn't huge, only about 100 meters in length. It contained immense power. It flew at an extremely fast speed in the sky. This was Azure Dragon Shadow's flying treasure that could carry people. Their destination was the Entangled Land. The Land of Entanglement was a very peculiar place. It was a place that was relatively close to the elves. Above the Entangled Land was a huge forest. The forest was much larger than the Land of Devil Bones. The most amazing thing was that below the countless trees in the Entangled Land was an underground river world. Just like Earth in the past, it had an underground river. It was the same here. When they entered, it was an incomparably huge underground river. Above the Entangled Land and in the underground river, there were countless dire beasts. Over there, the majority were plant-type dire beasts. These dire beasts could be a flower or a tree. It was extremely dangerous. The Dragon Palace of the senior from the ancestral dragon bloodline was in the underground river of the Entangled Land. After he was killed, the experts from the ancestral dragon bloodline would allow him to inherit the Dragon Palace. To prevent the sacred dragon bloodline from obtaining it. The sacred dragon bloodline also sent people to search for that senior's divine kingdom. After all, the divine country of a third-order sovereign realm expert was a huge treasure to the ancestral dragon bloodline and sacred dragon bloodline. After flying for 2 months, with 3 days of teleportation in the middle of the journey, they finally arrived in front of the Entangled Land. In a world shrouded in trees, towering trees rose from the ground, and the ground seemed wet. There were even water stains on the ground in some places. Let's go in. The Azure Dragon Whiskered Shadow said. The wooden ship rushed towards the ground. It broke through the soil and drilled downwards. Crash. 10 minutes later, they entered the underground river of the Twisted Land. The entire underground river was pitch black, but for powerhouses like them, unless it was a special energy zone, there was no difference between day and night. The water in this underground river still contained some energy. Wang Xian said with a smile as he felt the river water. To the weak, this river water was considered sacred water. It's also because of the energy in the underground river that the trees above are so lush. Brother Wang Xian, when you reach the bottom of the underground river, you will see that it's also a forest world. Azure Dragon Moon smiled and said, Brother Azure Dragon Moon, have you been here before? Wang Xian asked him curiously. I've been here once, but we don't know where that senior's dragon palace is. Azure Dragon Moon replied. The current ancestral dragon bloodline couldn't be compared to when the divine dragon bloodline was at its peak. At their peak, the divine dragon bloodline placed their dragon palace in a sea region, and everyone knew about it. The dragon palace was equivalent to a divine country. Everyone knew about a divine country. To ordinary experts, this would be courting death. However, everyone knew about the dragon palace back then, and no one dared to say that they wanted to annihilate a dragon palace. Even if it was a dragon palace below the Universe Lord realm. This was because they were the pinnacle races. It was different now. The dragon palace of that senior from the ancestral dragon bloodline was hidden, and it would be very troublesome to find it. Do you have any items or treasures of that senior? Wang Xian asked them. As long as they could find the treasures used by that senior when he was alive, they would be able to find it. It's useless. That senior mentioned that his dragon palace is specially concealed, and we can't find its exact location using witchcraft. We have to search it bit by bit. Azure Dragon Shadow shook his head. Wang Xian nodded his head slightly. Such existences had their own powerful abilities. It was normal for them to be able to conceal themselves from the detection of witchcraft. We can only use the most primitive method, a carpet search. Let's split up and each of us will sense a region. Azure Dragon Shadow looked at them. All right. The group nodded their heads. We have to be careful here. Firstly, we have to be wary of the creatures in the underground river. According to the records, there might be wild beasts with the combat strength of Third-Order Universe Sovereigns here. Also, be careful of those from the Divine Dragon bloodline. They should have sent their experts here, Azure Dragon Shadow reminded. The group nodded their heads again. Dragon King, we are in the middle of them. If we encounter any danger, we can provide support. Azure Dragon Shadow looked at Wang Xian. No problem. Wang Xian nodded his head. Soon the group split up. 2 pairs of them could sense each other's location, and a carpet search was carried out. Wang Xian came to a spot and scanned both sides. Forward and search. Azure Dragon Shadow's voice sounded. Wang Xian and the group flew forward and landed at the bottom of the underground river. At the bottom of the river, all kinds of trees and plants were growing. Some of the trees were tens of thousands of meters tall. The entire river bottom was full of life. Wang Xian could sense the presence of many fishes, but the cultivation levels of these fishes were not high. Sensing the surroundings and the front, they flew forward. They kept moving forward. After more than 10 hours, there were vibrations coming from the right. There were sounds of battle. What's going on? Wang Xian transmitted his voice. Dragon King, it's not a big problem. We encountered a First-Order Universe Sovereign wild beast, and it has escaped. A voice said. Wang Xian nodded his head, and the group continued moving forward. Dragon King, the water energy here is abundant. This is a good place. The Water Tentacle King appeared on Wang Xian's shoulder. Her 3 eyes scanned the surroundings. Can you sense anything? Wang Xian asked her. My senses in the water are still very strong. Other than the weed ahead being a First-Order Universe Sovereign Realm Desolate Beast, I didn't sense anything else. The Water Tentacle King said. Chapter 3489. Oh. Wang Xian was shocked to hear what the Tentacle King said. He hadn't sensed the presence of any dire beasts, but the Water Tentacle King had sensed them? Wang Xian could even say that the Water Divine Dragon and Azure Dragon did not sense it. Dragon King, I'm a galactic beast on the same level as the Divine Dragon. In fact, galactic beasts have abilities that other pinnacle races don't have. I, the Tentacle King, am very good at sensing underwater. The Tentacle King said confidently. Wang Xian nodded his head slightly. Over at the Eternal River of Heaven, the senses of the Water Tentacle King covered a terrifying area. Anlai's attempt to pluck the water lotus was easily sensed by the Tentacle King. The ability of the Tentacle King was not to be underestimated. Capture it. Wang Xian ordered the Tentacle King. Yes, Dragon King. Leave it to me. The Tentacle King waved its tentacles and one of its eyes glowed. A water mirror appeared in front of it. The plant-type desolate beast seemed to have sensed danger as it hurriedly fled into the distance. But in the next moment, a water mirror appeared in front of it and it dived into it. In the next moment, it appeared in front of Wang Xian and the rest. The Tentacle King waved its tentacles and killed it. What ability is that? Wang Xian could not help but ask when he saw the bizarre attack. It's a talent that belongs to us galactic beasts. The Tentacle King said. Wang Xian nodded slightly. This talent was not something that the experts of other races could learn. Pretty impressive. He commented. That's right. If not for the inborn cardinal treasure, I wouldn't have ended up in such a miserable state. When I recover, I'll pluck his feathers. The Tentacle King said furiously. Wang Xian chuckled and continued to fly forward. The Tentacle King was stronger than him in sensing underwater. Therefore Wang Xian decided to let her sense the surroundings. A carpet search was time-consuming. According to Azure Dragon Shadow and the rest, if they were unlucky they might not be able to find anything even after a decade. But if they were lucky they might only need a few years or even shorter. Compared to the time outside the Great Desolate Continent, a dozen years was as short as a dozen months. Wang Xian wasn't in a hurry. If that senior had sufficient resources in the Dragon Palace, he would be able to accumulate a lot of resources for his own improvement. Time passed day by day. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed. Be careful, run this way. Suddenly, a terrified voice came from the left. Lord Dragon King, Lord Azure Dragon Shadow, save me. A terrified cry for help was heard. Wang Xian looked over and saw the unbeginning Saint Wings appearing behind his back before disappearing in an instant. So. On the left, a strange and terrifying wild beast attacked an expert from the ancestral dragon bloodline. It was a water snake, but the water snake was like a tree with a thick snake body. There were many small snakes growing on the snake's body. These small snakes were like the branches of a tree, densely covering the snake. The powerhouse from the ancestral dragon's bloodline had a look of despair on his face as he looked at the countless water snakes. It's over. A second-order universe sovereign realm water snake couldn't escape even if it wanted to. Bastard, you're courting death. Just as he was about to lose all hope, a figure suddenly appeared beside him. Following that, an azure dragon's head attacked the desolate beast. At the same time, he saw a shadow flying over. The phantom also had terrifying tentacles with suction cups and sharp teeth on top of the tentacles. Hiss hiss hiss. Countless snake heads let out hissing sounds. They raised their heads and spat out water arrows. The water arrows were so dense that they covered the entire space. The Tai Chi dragon plate circled around the ancestral dragon bloodline expert, and Wang Xian's figure disappeared instantly. Let's test the power of the cross-skull nail. He appeared above the water snake and the energy from his body surged into his face. A mask appeared and a deep black cross fell towards the strange water snake. At the same time, the water tentacle king's tentacles wrapped around the snake tightly. Wang. Hiss. The deep black cross fell on the countless snake heads, and they were obliterated instantly. Fresh blood and energy condensed into the shape of a strange blood-red angel. The angel was nailed on the cross, and this increased the power of the cross significantly. Hiss. The water snake flailed around in fear, but it couldn't escape under the restraint of the water tentacle king. The cross continued to fall, penetrating the water snake's body and killing it. What a powerful cross-skull nail. No wonder it's an innate spiritual treasure that killed an archangel. Wang Xian was shocked as he flew over to collect the corpse. The attack of the cross-skull nail was simple, but its power was indeed terrifying. Especially when it injured the enemy, and when the blood-red angel was formed, its power would increase exponentially. Lord Dragon King is so strong. The ancestral dragon bloodline expert, who was a first-order universe sovereign, looked at Wang Xian in shock, and couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. A second-order universe sovereign realm wild beast was killed so easily, and it didn't even have a chance to escape. This strength was too terrifying. It could only last a few seconds under the attack of the wild beast. This wild beast couldn't even last a few seconds under the attack of the Dragon King. Swish. At this time, Green Dragon Suing and the rest flew over and looked over. Are you alright? Where's that horrifying wild beast? Green Dragon Suing and the rest asked in shock when they saw the expert. Killed by the Dragon King. That expert swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said in shock. Killed? Green Dragon Suing and the rest were taken aback, and their faces were filled with disbelief. A second-order universe sovereign realm wild beast was killed? In just a few seconds? They immediately looked at Wang Xian in front of them, and their eyes were filled with shock. I've already dealt with it. Wang Xian looked at them and said with a smile. Brother Wang Xian, do you have a powerful innate cardinal treasure? Green Dragon Yu opened his mouth and couldn't help but ask. No, but I have a powerful weapon. Wang Xian smiled and continued, wild beasts of the same level shouldn't be a problem for me to kill. Awesome. With you around, our chances of finding the Dragon Palace will be much higher. Green Dragon Su Ying exclaimed in surprise. They didn't expect the Dragon King to be so strong. No wonder he could force the 100 Cities Alliance to such a state. Let's continue, said Wang Xian with a smile. Chapter 3490. Wang Xian's strength shocked Azure Dragon Shadow, Azure Dragon Moon and the rest. But the search had to continue. The group continued moving forward. Time passed day by day. Apart from searching for the Dragon Palace, they could also hunt down some Universe Lord level wild beasts. To Wang Xian, this was a win-win situation for both resources and treasures. Killing a level 2 Universe Lord level wild beast would increase the number of level 2 Universe Lords in the Dragon Palace by 1. Dragon King, I sense the power of light here. One day 2 months later, the Water Tentacle King suddenly said to Wang Xian. Huh? Wang Xian was taken aback and squinted his eyes. Is it the aura of a divine dragon? He asked. Should be, but I'm not too sure. The Water Tentacle King replied. Wang Xian nodded and looked around cautiously. They continued forward. Another 2 days later, Wang Xian also sensed the aura of the light divine dragon. Even the divine dragon lineage could sense the dragon aura. Dragon King. At this time, Azure Dragon Shadow, Azure Dragon Moon, and the rest flew over with solemn expressions. Did you sense it? Wang Xian nodded. A very intense divine dragon aura with radiance. It should be the light divine dragon. The other party has already scouted the area in front of us. We can conceal ourselves and search for the light divine dragons. Azure Dragon Shadow's eyes flickered. Now that the light divine dragons were also searching for the Dragon Palace, there would be a fight if they encountered them. Since they had already searched this area, there was no need for them to search again. Now they could investigate the strength of the divine dragon lineage. If the other party was too strong, they would have to be wary of their ambush even if they found the Dragon Palace. If the other party was weak, they could act according to the circumstances. Sure. Wang Xian nodded. The group gathered together and continued to fly forward while sensing the remnant divine dragon aura. Do they know you guys will be searching for the Dragon Palace? Suddenly, the water tentacle king on Wang Xian's shoulder asked Azure Dragon Shadow and the rest. Azure Dragon Shadow and the rest were taken aback and shook their heads. We don't know if they know either. He answered. They should be able to get rid of the divine dragon aura, but it still lingers in the surroundings. Either they did it on purpose or they are too brazen. The water tentacle king continued. Be careful. Wang Xian said to them. Azure Dragon Beard Shadow and the others nodded with a serious look on their faces. The group scanned their surroundings vigilantly and continued to fly forward. Dragon King, someone is spying on us. Is that plant over there? It's a demonic beast. After flying for another hour, the water tentacle king's voice suddenly rang in Wang Xian's mind. Hearing this, his eyes focused on the plant. It was a very ordinary plant, no different from the plants found at the bottom of the underground river. When Wang Xian glanced over, he did not even notice that it was a demonic beast. If not for the water tentacle king's reminder, he really wouldn't have known. In the next instant, Wang Xian's figure flickered and disappeared instantly. He appeared beside the demonic beast of grass and wood. With a swing of his arm, he grabbed at it. When Qing Longyue and the rest saw Wang Xian's sudden action, they were taken aback. Soul assimilation. When Wang Xian caught hold of this demonic beast, he used the soul assimilation technique with a thought. A stream of information entered Wang Xian's mind. When he saw this information, his eyes lit up. Demonic beast? Heavenly Plants clan? Azure Dragon Beard Shadow and the rest were taken aback when they saw this demonic beast. Wang Xian opened his eyes and nodded slightly. The Heavenly Plants clan was a subsidiary clan under the Angel clan. The Heavenly Plants clan was very strong and not weaker than the Sacred Dragon bloodline. According to the information Wang Xian received, they were here to look for the Azure Dragon Palace. Why is the Heavenly Plants clan involved? Azure Dragon Beard Shadow and the rest did not look good. This was not good news for them. Did this mean that the Heavenly Plants clan was also involved in the war between the Sacred Dragon bloodline and the Ancestral Dragon bloodline? Wang Xian did not get much information from the memory of this Heavenly Plants clan. This Heavenly Plants clan was only responsible for monitoring the surrounding information. If any disciples of the Ancestral Dragon bloodline came, they would report immediately. Their information had already been reported to their superiors. Moreover, there were many universe venerable level heaven plant demonic beasts scattered all over the underground river. Let's move forward. Be careful. The other party might ambush us. Besides, the other party has sent out a lot of people. They might have already found the Dragon Palace, said Wang Xian with a frown. Dragon King, I don't think we need to go with them. They're too slow. With your speed and my sensitivity in the water, we can search dozens of times faster than we are now. The voice of the Water Tentacle King rang in Wang Xian's mind. Wang Xian pondered for a moment. Brother Qing Longyue, I need to move a little faster, so I'll go on my own. If there's any news, I'll contact you immediately. Wang Xian looked at Azure Dragon Moon and said, Sure. Be careful, Dragon King. Azure Dragon Moon and Azure Dragon Whisker exchanged a glance and nodded. All right. I'll make a move first. The unbeginning sacred wings appeared behind Wang Xian. He nodded to the Azure Dragon Moon and the rest before disappearing in the next instant. What incredible speed! The face of the Azure Dragon Shadow revealed a shocked expression. The strength of the Dragon King isn't simple. The old man who was saved by Wang Xian spoke with radiance flickering in his eyes. I didn't expect Brother Wang Xian to improve so much in such a short period of time. Azure Dragon Moon murmured. Water Tentacle King, try your best to sense the surroundings. Find the people from the Dragon Palace or the Sacred Dragon lineage as soon as possible. Wang Xian instructed from the front. Yes, Dragon King. The Water Tentacle King nodded his head and extended his tentacles to the surroundings. The suction cups on the tentacles opened up. Wang Xian's speed was fast. The senses of the Water Tentacle King were terrifying. Their senses were 10 times faster than before. Dragon King, hide yourself to the right. Within a few days, the voice of the Water Tentacle King was heard. Following which, a blue light shrouded Wang Xian and the rest. Wang Xian narrowed his eyes, slowed down a little and flew to the right. There are many living beings ahead. Moreover, the energy over there is much denser. It should be a grotto heaven, and it might be where the Dragon Palace is located. The Water Tentacle King continued. Wang Xian began to hide himself and approached the front slowly. Dragon King, there are many members of the Heavenly Plants clan with strong concealment abilities ahead. Be careful not to be discovered. The Water Tentacle King continued to warn as they neared. Chapter 3491. The Sky Plants race was a subsidiary race of the Angel race. Sky Plants represented that they were plants of the heaven and earth. Once these demonic beasts retracted their aura and energy, they would be completely different from ordinary vegetation. If it weren't for the fact that the Water Tentacle King was a giant star beast, it would have been very difficult to discover them. What rank are they? Wang Xian asked. The strongest one is at the First Order Universe Sovereign Realm. Dragon Palace, if you conceal yourself they won't be able to detect you. The Water Tentacle King said. Wang Xian nodded his head and began to conceal himself. Under his concealment, it was very difficult for someone of the same level to detect him. The Heaven Plant demon beasts were clearly spies that the Sacred Dragon bloodline and the Heaven Plant race had set up to monitor the surroundings. However, they hadn't expected that a water-attributed star behemoth like the Aqua Tentacle King would exist. Many star behemoths with peak bloodlines were even more powerful than members of peak species. They were few in number but their abilities were terrifying. For example, the Kuan fed on divine dragons and phoenixes. If a divine dragon of the same level fought a Kuan of the same level, it might not be a match for the Kuan without a powerful treasure. The strength of a Kuan was comparable to a mutated divine dragon. Although the Water Tentacle King wasn't as monstrously powerful, it was still quite powerful. Wang Xian concealed himself and passed through easily under the surveillance of the Heavenly Plants clan. Furthermore, Lingling, who was a half-living fairy, was of the wood attribute. With the change in her aura, it was even harder for them to detect her. TSK, there are more than 200 Heaven Plant demonic beasts. Looks like they sent many people over. As Wang Xian passed through, the King of Water Tentacles said. The Azure Dragon's Dragon Palace is extremely attractive to the wood-attributed Heavenly Plant race. Said Wang Xian. The Azure Dragon Palace, the Azure Dragon's collection, even a wood element Third Order Sovereign Realm expert would covet it. He just didn't know if there were any Third Order Sovereign Realm Heavenly Plants. If there were, it would be troublesome. It's right in front. Wang Xian looked ahead. He could sense an intense energy coming from the front. It should belong to the Blessed Enclave. There was a high chance that the Azure Dragon's Dragon Palace was located near the Blessed Land. Buzz. 2 Light Element Second Order Sovereign Realm experts. 3 Wood Element Second Order Sovereign Realm experts. As Wang Xian approached, the voice of the Water Tentacle King rang in his mind. Wang Xian squinted his eyes and approached carefully. Soon, a humongous dragon palace appeared in his sight. At this moment, the top of the dragon palace was slowly covered by branches. In front of them stood more than 20 figures. There were 5 from the Sacred Dragon bloodline, while the rest were all experts from the Sky Plant clan. They looked at the dragon palace in front of them, obviously waiting. It isn't easy to enter the dragon palace of a Third Order Universe Sovereign Realm Divine Dragon. If Senior Azure Dragon was prepared, even experts on the same level as him wouldn't be able to break through. If he didn't take it away, he must have used some special method to break through. Wang Xian looked at this scene and mumbled to himself. He was pleasantly surprised. 5 Second Order Sovereigns were enough to deal with him. He took out the Universe AI and passed the information to Azure Dragon Moon. Then he scanned his surroundings and began to investigate. The branches slowly covered the entire Dragon Palace. At this moment, they had already covered 1/3 of the palace. It was as if they would open the Dragon Palace when it was completely covered. 3 days later, Azure Dragon Moon and the others arrived. You guys weren't discovered by the Sky Plant demonic beasts? Wang Xian asked in surprise when he saw them. Dragon King, you told us in advance. Naturally, we could come here without any problems. After all, we are also divine dragons. The Azure Dragon Beard Shadow smiled. Being of the same wood attribute, Azure Dragon was indeed much stronger than the Skyplant clan. Wang Xian nodded and pointed to the front. A total of 5 Second Order Universe Sovereigns and 18 First Order Universe Sovereigns. As he spoke, he looked at Azure Dragon Shadow and the rest. Brother Azure Dragon Moon, Brother Suing, I can deal with 5 Second Order Universe Sovereigns. However, can you guys open the Dragon Palace quickly? If you can't open it immediately, the other party might send more reinforcements. Open it immediately? Azure Dragon Shadow and the rest shook their heads bitterly. They couldn't open the Dragon Palace of this senior immediately. Forget it, I still have a way. Wang Xian nodded slightly. He wasn't in a hurry. If they couldn't open it, Enlai would be able to enter directly. Get ready to destroy them. Wang Xian looked at them and said, Brother Wang Xian, are you confident? Azure Dragon Moon looked at Wang Xian and asked. Don't worry, leave the 5 Second Order Universe Sovereigns to me. Wang Xian nodded confidently. Lingling, Aqua Tentacle King, Dark Ghost, 5 Elements Grindstone, and himself. This would be a 5v5. Moreover, their strength couldn't be treated as ordinary experts. I'll make the first move. You guys follow behind. The unbeginning sacred wings appeared behind Wang Xian. His face was covered by a skull cross. In the next instant he dashed forward. The tentacles of the Aqua Tentacle King rose. The 5 Elements Grindstone appeared above Wang Xian's head. Dark Ghost's doppelganger also began to form. At this instant, Wang Xian exploded with terrifying strength. Ahead, 2 experts from the Sacred Dragon bloodline were closest to Wang Xian. The other 3 Second Order Universe Sovereigns stood in front of a tree. They were clearly controlling the branches of the tree to cover the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian's attack alerted the 2 Radiance Divine Dragons. Their expressions changed and they looked behind them. Roar roar. At the same time, they transformed into their divine dragon forms and blasted a beam of light energy behind them. Too slow. Wang Xian revealed a cold smirk. Unless the other party had an inborn cardinal treasure, even experts from the pinnacle races would die if he launched a sneak attack. Boom. Wang Xian dashed over and locked onto a Radiance Divine Dragon. The attacks from Aqua Tentacle King, 5 Elements Grindstone, Dark Ghost's doppelganger, and himself landed on the Radiance Divine Dragon instantly. No. Sensing the unparalleled strength, the Radiance Divine Dragon roared in horror. Bam. Instantly killed even if it was a purebred divine dragon. The Dragon King has terrifying strength. Let's strike. When the Azure Dragon Whiskered Shadow saw this scene, he swallowed his saliva and moved. Roar roar. He immediately transformed into an Azure Dragon and charged towards the Radiance Divine Dragon and Heaven Plant's Beast. Azure Dragon Moon and the rest followed closely behind. Oh no, there's an attack from experts. Be careful. When the other Light Divine Dragon saw this, his expression changed drastically and he roared in shock. Chapter 3492, There's an attack from the Ancestral Dragon bloodline. Be careful. Damn it, kill them. A Second Order Universe Sovereign Radiance Divine Dragon was killed by Wang Xian. Everyone was enraged. That was a top-notch expert among them, and it was killed in an instant. Shit. Above the Dragon Palace, the 3 Second Order Universe Sovereigns were shocked when they sensed the aura. Quick, help me. Another Radiance Divine Dragon was filled with fear as he roared at the Heaven Plant Demonic Beast. Cross Skull Spike. After killing 1 Radiance Divine Dragon, Wang Xian charged towards the 2nd Radiance Divine Dragon. The unparalleled might caused his face to be filled with fear. This attack was too terrifying. The Second Order Universe Sovereign Radiance Divine Dragon shuddered violently as he formed the strongest defense in front of him. The 3 Heaven Plant Demonic Beasts' faces changed as they sent their vines towards Wang Xian. Kaka. However, their attacks were too slow. Wang Xian completely disregarded their attacks. The Cross Skull Spike broke through the 2nd Radiance Divine Dragon's defense and headed towards its body. Arc. A blood-red angel appeared on the spike as the Radiance Divine Dragon let out a blood-curdling scream. Death enveloped it. 2 consecutive Radiance Divine Dragons couldn't escape Wang Xian's attack. Too strong. It was too easy for Wang Xian to kill an existence of the same level. Another Radiance Divine Dragon was killed by the Dragon King. Ah, great. When Azure Dragon Whisker and the others saw this scene, their faces lit up with excitement. Killing 2 Radiance Divine Dragons in an instant. There were only 3 Second Order Universe Sovereigns left. Be careful, his strength is terrifying. The three heaven-plant demonic beasts narrowed their eyes when they saw this. They didn't rush over recklessly. Instead, they sent their vines towards Wang Xian from a distance. Swish. Wang Xian saw their long-range attacks and revealed a look of disdain. His unbeginning sacred wings flickered. Swish, swish, swish. Vines broke as he flew towards the three heaven-plant demonic beasts at a terrifying speed. The five elements grindstone contained immense power, and the water tentacle king also emanated a heart-palpitating power. Seeing this scene, the three heaven-plant demonic beasts glanced at each other with serious expressions. Heaven-plant engulf. The three of them had gloomy expressions on their faces as their bodies transformed into giant trees with blurry faces. A wave of energy flowed into a tree behind him. That tree was the powerful inborn spiritual treasure that coiled around the Dragon Palace. An incomparably thick branch with sharp thorns shot towards Wang Xian. Brr. Wang Xian let out a deep roar and transformed into a wood attribute divine dragon. A green aura surged upwards. Walala. The water tentacle king also condensed a sharp stream of water and attacked the giant tree. Bam bam bam. The giant tree that was attacking them was quickly defeated. At the front, the expressions of the three heaven-plant beasts changed greatly. Go! He growled and ordered all the disciples and experts. Our two lords have already fallen. Run. Let's go. The experts from the ancestral dragon lineage are very strong. All the experts, disciples, and heaven-plant demonic beasts of the sacred dragon lineage roared and fled immediately upon hearing the order. Trying to escape? Go to hell. The green dragon whiskered Shadow's eyes were filled with murderous intent as he locked onto an expert from the sacred dragon lineage. Oh no. That expert from the sacred dragon lineage was just an alternative dragon and not a purebred light divine dragon. Facing the green dragon whiskered Shadow, who was a level higher than him, he was horrified. Being locked onto by a green dragon, he couldn't escape at all. Ark. Very soon, the thorny vines completely surrounded him and killed him. In the surroundings, the experts and disciples of the sacred dragon lineage fled rapidly back to their own holy nations. At the forefront, Wang Xian raised his eyebrows slightly as he watched the three heaven-plant demonic beasts fleeing. It would be hard for him to stop them if they fled immediately. However, Wang Xian wasn't bothered. His main target this time was the Azure Dragon Palace. In addition, he had killed 2 light divine dragons. In addition to the previous one, there were a total of 3. The previous light divine dragon wasn't absorbed by the dragon transformation pool. Wang Xian wanted to revive the other disciples of the Dragon Palace with the bodies of the light divine dragons. In this case, there would be 3 more light divine dragons in the Dragon Palace. The 3 heaven-plant demonic beasts disappeared, and so did the vines that entangled the Azure Dragon Palace. A dragon palace appeared in everyone's sight. All of them escaped. Haha, we killed 2 Universe Lord level experts from the sacred dragon lineage. Behind, the excited laughter of Azure Dragon and the rest could be heard. Dragon King, I didn't expect you to be so strong. Are you a mutated divine dragon? The green dragon whiskered Shadow flew over and looked at Wang Xian in shock. Yes. Wang Xian nodded his head with a smile. He was now a mutated divine dragon. You're really a mutated divine dragon. Brother Wang Xian, you might be the only mutated divine dragon in the universe. The green dragon whiskered Shadow widened his eyes. Our ancestral dragon leader is just a purebred divine dragon. Perhaps one day Brother Wang Xian will break through to the Universe Lord realm. Azure Dragon Moon flew over and said with beaming eyes. Now he finally understood why Wang Xian could use several attributes. Only a mutated divine dragon could do that. Let's not talk about anything else. When Dragon King reaches the limits of a universe supremacy, he will be comparable to a Universe Lord expert. The other experts from the ancestral dragon lineage also flew over and looked at Wang Xian in awe. Hee hee. Wang Xian chuckled. Let's enter Senior Azure Dragon's Dragon Palace first. The heaven-plant demonic beasts of the sacred dragon lineage won't let this go easily. Alright, let's see if we can enter. The green dragon whiskered Shadow and the rest nodded and flew above the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian flew above and sized up the entire Dragon Palace with flickering eyes. It's not easy to enter. The defense of this Dragon Palace is very strong. Moreover, there's a grotto heaven and blessed land below the Dragon Palace. This grotto heaven and blessed land has a unique feature, which is that it enhances the defense of this Dragon Palace. The Water Tentacle King stared at the Azure Dragon Palace and said, Do you have any way to enter? Wang Xian looked at the green dragon whiskered Shadow, Azure Dragon Moon, and the rest and asked, We, the ancestral dragon lineage, have some connections between purebred bloodlines. We can give it a try. The green dragon whiskered shadow said. He looked at Azure Dragon Moon. Both of them came to the dragon gate of the dragon palace. With a wave of his arm, a stream of his blood dripped onto the dragon gate. Junior Azure Dragon Shadow. Junior Azure Dragon Moon. Senior Azure Dragon's remnant consciousness, please allow us to enter your dragon palace. Both of them bowed respectfully as their blood dripped onto the dragon gate. In the next instant, the energy within the dragon gate opened up a gap. Chapter 3493. Huh? It's opened? When Wang Xian saw the dragon palace opening, he was surprised. The experts from the ancestral dragon lineage once said that if they fall, as long as they have the pure bloodline of the ancestral dragon, there's a high chance of opening their dragon palace. Azure Dragon Shadow said with a smile. Wang Xian nodded his head slightly. This was also the trust that the experts of the ancestral dragon lineage had for their disciples. They did not want their treasures to be taken away by others or fall into obscurity after an accident. The Azure Dragon Palace opened, and the aura of the Azure Dragon surged in. Azure Dragon Shadow and the rest walked in with flickering eyes. Dragon King, please? As they spoke, Wang Xian followed closely behind them. Once inside, there was an incomparably huge tree. The huge tree was on both sides and there were 8 words carved on it. Divine Dragon reigns. Return to the peak. The 8 words represented Senior Azure Dragon's expectations for the Divine Dragon clan. It was a pity that he would never be able to see the moment when the Divine Dragon reached the peak. Looking at these words, Azure Dragon Beard Shadow and the others felt their hearts tremble, and they respectfully bowed. Wang Xian bowed as well. He was full of respect for such an expert. We, the disciples of the ancestral dragon lineage, will enter Senior's Dragon Palace and inherit Senior's Dragon Palace. We will definitely avenge Senior. Azure Dragon Shadow and the rest swore with murderous intent on their faces. After standing in front for a few seconds, the group walked in. The layout of the Dragon Palace was basically the same. After passing through the front, they arrived at the Dragon Palace's herb garden. So many divine fruits and divine trees. Wang Xian was shocked when he arrived at the herb garden. Within the Dragon Palace of Senior Azure Dragon, there were many third-order universe lord divine herbs, divine fruits and divine trees. They were definitely priceless. The group took a look but didn't take them away immediately. This time they weren't just going to take away these treasures, but the entire Dragon Palace. The group continued forward, and the Dragon King Hall appeared in everyone's sight. Upon entering the Dragon King Hall, there were flowers on both sides. The flowers were gorgeous and emitted a fragrance. They have sentience. Water Tentacle King's voice suddenly sounded. Are you experts from the ancestral dragon lineage? As soon as she finished her sentence, the surrounding flowers turned into human forms and stared at them. Azure Dragon Beard Shadow and the others were slightly surprised, but they immediately nodded. We are the Azure Dragon disciples of the ancestral dragon bloodline, the descendants of Lord Azure Dragon Waste Flower. Azure Dragon's Beard Shadow and the others immediately transformed into divine dragons and revealed their identities. Big Sister is already dead. She will never come back. The dozen or so flower-shaped women said sorrowfully with tears in their eyes. We shall inherit Senior's will. Azure Dragon Beard Shadow and the rest bowed to the flower fairies. Sister said that if she dies, the ancestral dragons would attribute universe ruler and above can inherit everything from her. A flower fairy in the center spoke. She looked at them and said, which one of you will inherit this dragon palace? Dragon King, I will inherit this dragon palace. All the resources in the dragon palace will belong to you. If not for you, we would not have been able to obtain Senior's dragon palace. It might have fallen into the hands of the sacred dragon bloodline. Green Dragon Whiskered Shadow looked at Wang Xian, cupped his fist and said, all right. Wang Xian nodded his head slightly. The dragon palace of a third-order universe ruler was worth a fortune. However, the value of the treasures in this dragon palace was slightly higher than the value of this dragon palace. Wang Xian was very satisfied with his gains. After all, this dragon palace belonged to the ancestral dragon bloodline. Another 2 second-order universe ruler Radiant's divine dragons have fallen? At the same time, in an empty space, Sacred Dragon King received the news from his subordinates. His face was dark. Radiant's divine dragons were the pillar of the sacred dragon bloodline. There were less than 100 purebred Radiant's divine dragons in the entire sacred dragon bloodline. There were not many second-order universe rulers. Now another two had fallen. Lord Sacred Dragon King, they were ambushed and killed when they were collecting the Azure Dragon Palace. The other party's strength is terrifying. A Radiance Divine Dragon reported from the side. Ancestral Dragon Bloodline. Leave it to the Tianji tribe. Tell them that we don't want the Azure Dragon Palace anymore. We'll give it all to them. Sacred Dragon King snorted and said coldly, "Yes, Lord Sacred Dragon King." The Radiance Divine Dragon replied immediately, "Ancestral Dragon Bloodline, you're not far from extinction." Sacred Dragon King stared at the shadow in front of him, his eyes filled with murderous intent. His body moved and he flew forward directly. Soon he was in a huge forest. This was a very special forest. The trees were running and the grass was flying around. The branches danced in the air. In the center there was a huge tree. The entire tree covered the sky and was the size of a few planets. Above the tree a few trees landed on the ground. A third order universe ruler dragon palace is very useful to us. I'll come personally. The 8 of you follow me to snatch the dragon palace. A golden Tianji tribe demonic beast said plainly. Yes, Lord Golden Hoop. We have to hurry over. Otherwise the ancestral dragon bloodline might get the dragon palace. A Tianji tribe demonic beast answered immediately. Have you placed the Tianji seeds? The 10-meter tall, completely humanoid golden hoop Tianji tribe demonic beast scanned the 3 subordinates in front of him and asked. The seeds have been planted. These 3 heaven plant demonic beasts were the 3 that had escaped not long ago, and they answered. Let's go, we'll head over immediately. The golden hoop Tianji tribe demonic beast answered plainly. He extended a branch and a seed appeared in front of him. Slowly his body began to enter the seed. This process was extremely slow. 5 to 6 hours later, only half of his body had disappeared. At the same time, at an underground river in the coiling grounds, a seed buried at the bottom of the river started to grow. One after another, huge flowers appeared and slowly bloomed. 10 hours later, the 9 seeds grew to over 10 meters in size. They looked like lotus flowers, but they had yet to bloom. At this time, the lotus flowers started to bloom, and figures appeared inside. Tianji tribe demonic beast experts. This was one of the powerful abilities of Tianji tribe demonic beast. As long as they left their tribe in one place, their true body could be transferred here. Although it required a long process, it saved a lot of time as compared to rushing over. Of course there were drawbacks. If the seeds were destroyed or if the seeds were destroyed while they were growing, then they wouldn't be able to teleport over. Let's go and eliminate the disciples of the ancestral dragon bloodline. The Azure Dragon Palace belongs to us. The golden hoop Tianji tribe demonic beast's body shone brightly, and his body emitted killing intent. Chapter 3494. Lord, one of them is very strong. He can kill a second-order universe sovereign in an instant. Even 2 Radiance Divine Dragons were killed by him. He has a pair of powerful wings. I wonder if it's a treasure or something else. It can allow him to display the speed of a third-order universe sovereign. 9 heaven plant demonic beasts were traversing the riverbed of the Twisted Land. A heaven plant demonic beast expert reported to the Golden Ring heaven plant demonic beast. A purebred green dragon? Let's destroy it and absorb it as nourishment. The Golden Ring plant demonic beast's eyes lit up with anticipation. The green dragon was a precious nourishment to him. If he could absorb it, he might be able to improve his strength further. The 8 Golden Ring plant demonic beasts smiled at the confidence of their lord. Their lord was a mutated existence among the heaven plant demonic beasts. He possessed wood and metal attributes and was extremely powerful. The 9 heaven plant demonic beasts flew towards the Green Dragon Palace. Their speed was fast and the Dragon Palace was not far from them. At this moment, within the Dragon Palace, the Azure Dragon Whisker Shadow was refining the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian began to devour all the resources and convert them into dragon energy. Although there were more resources here, it was still a distance away from Wang Xian's breakthrough. The Green Dragon Shadow would need some time to refine the Dragon Palace. Moreover, he could not refine it to 100%. He could only control the Dragon Palace. Time ticked by, and the 9 heaven plant demonic beasts appeared in front of the Dragon Palace. They scanned the surroundings. Voila! A golden branch extended from the Golden Ring plant demonic beast, and a golden mirror appeared. They've already entered the Dragon Palace. Very good, it's a good opportunity to catch them all. Kill them all. He looked at the Dragon Palace and revealed a smile. Lord, we can seal them there completely. A heaven plant demonic beast said with beaming eyes. The golden ring plant demonic beast nodded his head. He moved and appeared above the dragon palace. "Take out the devouring tree," he said. "Yes, Lord." A heaven plant demonic beast waved his arm, and a tree flew to the front of the golden ring plant demonic beast. The roots of the tree looked like a huge mouth that had split open. His roots landed on the tree one by one, and waves of energy surged into it. In the next moment, the branches covered the dragon palace. "Guard the 4 dragons' gates. Kill anyone who comes out," the golden ring plant beast ordered. "Yes, my lord." The 8 heaven plant demonic beast experts responded and immediately came above the 4 dragon gates. Thistles and thorns covered them. In the Azure Dragon Palace, Wang Xian was sitting cross-legged and absorbing resources. When he sensed the situation outside, he opened his eyes and looked out immediately. At this moment, the Azure Dragon Shadow in the Dragon King Hall immediately opened his eyes. Buzz. With a thought, he could see everything outside the Dragon Palace clearly. So. Qing Longyue and the rest flew towards Wang Xian with solemn expressions. How is this possible? They instantly escaped back to their own divine kingdoms. How did they come back so quickly? An expert from the sacred dragon lineage said with an ugly expression. The Azure Dragon Shadow was also a little embarrassed. The other party is very strong. If I'm not wrong, they should be third-order universe sovereigns, he said with a solemn expression. A third-order sovereign realm expert wasn't someone they could contend against. The 8 heaven plant demonic beasts around are second-order universe sovereigns. Wang Xian sensed the situation outside and frowned slightly. Logically speaking, the heaven plant demonic beasts would need at least a few months to rush back after escaping back to their own divine kingdoms. If the distance was further, it might even take a few years. But the other party rushed back in just a dozen hours. This was completely out of their expectations. The other party had used the tree to surround the entire dragon palace. They were like turtles in a jar. Unless they gave up on the dragon palace. "Oh no, I can sense that the space around us has been sealed." At this moment, the Azure Dragon Shadow's expression changed drastically. Wang Xian sensed and confirmed that the space around them had been completely sealed. He looked outside with a glimmer in his eyes. "We have to break through. Otherwise, we'll be in trouble if the other party completely seals the dragon palace." The Azure Dragon Shadow looked at Wang Xian solemnly and said, "Brother Azure Dragon Shadow, how long do you need to control this dragon palace?" Wang Xian asked. "It will take at least 3 months. The Azure Dragon Shadow answered. "I can only use some of the power of the dragon palace after I've refined it." 3 months? Wang Xian pondered for a moment. "I'll lure the third-order universe sovereign away first to buy some time. If there's no chance, I'll send someone to fetch you guys." "Huh? Dragon King, you want to restrain that expert?" "No, it's too dangerous." The Azure Dragon Moon shook his head immediately. Don't worry. Since I dare to make a move, I'm confident." Wang Xian smiled. He squinted his eyes and stared at the golden plant demonic beast. If it didn't have any powerful treasures, Wang Xian could restrain it. "Brother Azure Dragon Shadow, quickly take control of this dragon palace." "I'll go out and try." Wang Xian continued speaking to them. The Azure Dragon Shadow's expression changed. He cupped his fists and said, "Dragon King, please be careful." "Don't worry. A disciple of my dragon palace will come later. If there's no other way, they can help you guys out," Wang Xian said to them. He moved and flew towards one of the dragon gates. At the entrance of the dragon gate, he set up a demonic soul altar and sent a message to Enlai. After receiving a reply, he looked outside. "Third Order Universe Sovereign. Let's try it today," Wang Xian murmured. Lingling appeared on his shoulder while the dark ghost doppelganger appeared beside him. The Water Tentacle King had been lying on his other shoulder while the 5 Elements Great Grindstone hovered above his head. The Tai Chi Dragon Wheel was advertising around him. In the next instant he moved. The Divine Dragon on the 5 Elements Great Grindstone roared and blasted away the thorny vines covering the dragon gate. The other party has started to retaliate. The 2 heaven plant demonic beasts at the dragon gate narrowed their eyes when they saw the thorny vines being blasted away. Without the slightest hesitation, they directly bombarded the entrance. Chapter 3495. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Streaks of razor-sharp thorns shrouded Wang Xian. Swoosh. Wang Xian flapped his unbeginning saint wings. The Tai Chi dragon coils spun around him while the Aqua Tentacle King formed a defense. Boom. He completely resisted the opponent's attack, flapped his unbeginning saint wings, and attacked the golden ring heaven plant demon beast in the sky. Her? The golden ring plant beast stared at Wang Xian with cold and disdainful eyes. Azure Dragon? You're courting death. Swoosh. In the next instant, branches that looked like metal sheets attacked Wang Xian. Wang Xian focused his gaze. Energy surged into the 5 elements grindstone and clashed with the golden branches. The companion spirit, Lingling, and the Aqua Tentacle King and Dark Ghost Doppelganger attacked at the same time. With our combined strength, it's more than enough. The Aqua Tentacle King roared confidently. Be it Wang Xian, the 5 elements grindstone, or the Aqua Tentacle King, none of them could be understood by common sense. They were existences that could easily kill those of the same level. All the attacks clashed violently with the golden branches. Boom. The golden branches began to melt, and so did Wang Xian's attacks. They blocked it. Her? At the front, the golden ring heaven plant beast was taken aback when it saw this scene. He scanned Wang Xian's body with glistening eyes. What's that? Companion spirit? And the dark ghost doppelganger? How is this possible? What kind of opportunity is this? The golden ring heaven plant beast revealed a shocked expression. Swoosh. In the next instant, his eyes glowed as he attacked Wang Xian. Attack! Wang Xian bellowed. The unbeginning saint wings and the Aqua Tentacle King flew to both sides, with the dark ghost doppelganger in the middle. Wang Xian made use of his speed to vanish instantly and reappear above the plant demon beast. Nice speed. But you want to suppress me with this speed? The golden ring heaven plant beast harumphed coldly, and golden branches extended from its body. There were golden leaves on the branches. These leaves were extremely sharp. His attack enveloped Wang Xian in the 5 elements grindstone, the Aqua Tentacle King, and the Dark Ghost Doppelganger. Bam bam bam. The sound of collision reverberated again. This time Wang Xian was sent flying. He roared and instantly transformed into an azure dragon. Brandishing his dragon claws, he similarly sent thorny vines flying towards Yi Futian. Golden wildness, obliterate them. TSK, I really didn't expect an azure dragon to possess so many opportunities. Today all of your opportunities belong to me. The golden ring plant let out a frenzied roar as golden leaves swept towards Wang Xian and the rest. It was as if a hurricane was blowing the incomparably sharp leaves, cutting through the void and attacking indiscriminately. When Wang Xian saw the attack, his expression changed slightly. His figure flickered, instantly arriving at the side of the 5 elements grindstone. Relying on his speed, he gathered with the Water Tentacle King and Dark Ghost Avatar. Block! He growled, and layers of defense were erected in front of him. Boom boom boom. Wang Xian and the rest barely withstood the horrifying attacks. Divine Dragon playing with pearls. Wang Xian bellowed and released his strongest Dharma idol attack. An illusory image of a divine dragon appeared, carrying a dragon ball as it charged towards the golden ring plant beast. Heaven devouring. The Water Tentacle King bellowed. Black holes appeared in the surrounding waters, gradually expanding as they charged towards the golden ring plant beast. TSK, how dare a mere second-order universe sovereign challenge me? When the golden ring plant beast saw that its attacks were fended off consecutively, it was infuriated and its body began to expand crazily. Soon, its body grew to tens of thousands of meters in length, and golden branches shrouded towards Wang Xian and the rest. Dragon King, we can't defeat it. The Water Tentacle King looked at the might of the golden ring plant beast and said, it was easy to resist for a while, but it was impossible to defeat it. Let's go. Wang Xian also understood that if they joined forces, it would be great if they could resist it for a while. It was impossible to defeat it. He just had to attract its attention. Wang Xian flapped his unbeginning sacred wings and fled into the distance. Trying to escape? You're dead. Seed of life soul chasing. When the golden ring plant beast saw him escaping, it waved its branches and a seed shot towards Wang Xian. Ha! When Wang Xian sensed the seed, his expression changed slightly and he tried to dodge. However, this strange seed entered his body directly. When the seed entered his body, he didn't feel any discomfort, and the race disappeared instantly. What's this? With a thought, he mobilized the power of the progenitor tree to search for the race. However, the progenitor tree didn't sense anything. No, this is a kind of aura lock. When the seed entered my body, not only did it not have any side effects, but it also allowed me to absorb it instantly and improve a little. However, it contains a kind of energy, and the opponent can track me through this energy. Wang Xian's mind raced and his eyes flickered. Haha, connect. At this moment, the golden ring plant beast let out a maniacal laugh. Wang Xian's expression changed slightly, and a golden leaf appeared on his body. This leaf seemed to have grown out of his body and it made him frown. Is it using some kind of method to prevent myself from returning to the heavenly kingdom instantly? He murmured to himself with a solemn expression. He flapped his unbeginning sacred wings and flew forward rapidly. You can't escape. You have my life imprint on you. You can't escape. The golden ring plant beast said coldly as it chased after Wang Xian. Its speed wasn't any slower than Wang Xian. After all, his strength was one level lower than it. Feeling the pursuit from behind, Wang Xian's expression turned ugly. Ever since he became enemies with the sacred dragon bloodline, he had been chased several times. After this, I have to raise my fighting strength to the Third Order Universe Lord as soon as possible. At that time, I won't have to fear any living beings below the pinnacle races in the universe. Wang Xian was infuriated and he flew into the sky quickly. The golden ring plant beast followed closely behind, and from time to time, it would attack with its sharp golden branches. Bam! After flying for 20 minutes, Wang Xian broke through the ground of the entanglement. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. At this moment, the golden thorns converged at the back and pierced towards Wang Xian. Defend! He growled and a thick defense appeared behind him. Bam! The collision was felt, and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of Wang Xian's mouth. Chapter 3496. There's still a gap between me and a Third Order Universe Lord. Wang Xian licked the blood at the corner of his mouth and revealed a cold expression. Although he was hit just now, such a small injury could be healed instantly. Wang Xian's eyes darted towards a direction. He had gained a lot this time. Green Dragon Shadow's only gain was the Green Dragon Palace. Therefore he had to buy some time for the other party. Otherwise, Green Dragon Shadow and the rest would gain nothing. He had to rely on them to obtain these gains this time. Therefore he couldn't just abandon them. You can't escape. Behind, the golden ring plant demon beast's eyes were filled with murderous intent as it launched attacks at Wang Xian. Swoosh. Boost. It's impossible for you to catch up with us. Lingling waved the water lotus magic staff in her hand and boosted Wang Xian's body. The water tentacle king did the same. This boosted Wang Xian's speed a little. The golden ring plant demon beast, who was chasing after Wang Xian, frowned as he saw Wang Xian's speed increase. Swish swish swish. It waved the branches on its body and chased after Wang Xian. Wang Xian identified a direction and flew at top speed. I don't believe you can outlast me. The golden ring plant demon beast chased after Wang Xian with a cold expression when it saw that it couldn't keep Wang Xian here. Wang Xian had the golden branch and leaf that he had left behind. He could control this branch and leaf. As long as Wang Xian wanted to escape to his own heavenly kingdom, he could stop him. This was his powerful ability. In fact, Wang Xian knew this too. If he used all the energy of the progenitor tree, he could cover the golden branch. He could escape to his own heavenly kingdom. But he didn't do so. Once he escaped, the other party might target the Green Dragon Palace. Green Dragon Shadow and the rest would be in trouble. Rumble rumble rumble. As Wang Xian escaped, the golden ring plant demon beast chased after him. This terrifying aura caused the wild beasts along the way to shiver in fear. Swish swish swish. Wang Xian and the golden ring plant demon beast maintained a certain distance. It was hard to increase the distance between them. However, the golden ring heaven plant beast would never give up on Wang Xian. An azure dragon holding a large number of treasures, as well as something that seemed to be a companion spirit and a clone of Dark Ghost. His eyes burned with desire. The pursuit and the escape passed day by day. They passed through the tangled land and entered a vast plain, flying at high speed above the plain. That direction? After chasing for close to 2 months, the golden ring plant demon beast frowned slightly. In front of him, an incomparably large tree appeared in his line of sight, exuding a vigorous vitality. That world seemed to be even more beautiful. It's within the fairy clan's territory. The fairy clan's territory forbids all non-fairy disciples from entering. The golden ring heaven plant beast murmured. It wasn't just the elves, it was the same for all the peak races in the universe. Unless the pinnacle races of the universe agreed to let you enter their domain, they would treat you as an intruder. Naturally, the invaders would be killed immediately. I'll be fine as long as I follow behind him. Let's see where you can run to. The golden ring heaven plant beast revealed a ferocious expression and continued to follow closely behind. Why is the vitality ahead so dense? At this moment Wang Xian also sensed the changes ahead. Each and every tree was a dozen times larger than the one in the tangled land. Every tree towered into the clouds. In the sky above there were also some flying birds and beasts. Is there a grotto heaven paradise? He murmured and continued to fly forward without a care for anything else. I'm getting closer, I'm getting closer. The border of the pinnacle races of the universe is definitely unapproachable. The eyes of the golden ring heaven plant beast glistened as it prepared to strike at any time. Chirp chirp. At the same time within the border of the elves, the chirping of a bird could be heard. Sir, someone has stepped into our domain. The voice of the demonic bird was heard. Whoever dares to step into the territory of the elves, I'll shoot him down. A dozen or so elves immediately walked out of the holes in the trees. As they spoke, their figures disappeared in an instant. The elves didn't have many members. The number of elves bred by the Tree of Life was only slightly more than 1,000,000. The number of elves bred by the Mother Nature numbered in the hundreds of millions. Those bred by the Tree of Life belonged to the aristocracy of the elves and were comparable to the purebred divine dragons. As for those bred by the Mother, they were like the dragon species in the Dragon Palace. Some of them were comparable to the aristocracy of the elves and were at the pinnacle of the dragon species. Some of them were like the high-level dragon species. At the next moment, a dozen elves levitated on the trees at the border. Countless pairs of sharp eyes looked forward. They were the archers of the elves and belonged to the arrow of life among the elves. The border was also guarded by the arrow of life. Their sharp eyes scanned ahead and locked on to Wang Xian and the golden ring heaven plant beast. When they saw Wang Xian who was fleeing, they paused for a moment. Their gazes fell on Lingling, who was holding a magic staff on Wang Xian's shoulder. This is? Exclamations of astonishment came from the elves. They looked at each other with shock and disbelief. Companion elf. This is the companion elf. Why would the half-living elf of our elves be on the body of a divine dragon? A female elf couldn't help but ask. I don't know. Other than the Tree of Life, there are no other elves that can breed half-living elves. In the history of the elves, there were only 2 living beings who obtained the companion elf of our elves by chance. One is already dead and the other is Lord Mumu. The elf in the center said. Only the royal family of the elves could possess a companion elf. Even the aristocratic elves bred by the Tree of Life would find it hard to possess one. This required the blessing of the Tree of Life and the recognition of the companion elf. As for the royal family, it wasn't hereditary but possessed the companion elf. It could be understood that the royal family of the elves was equivalent to the mutated divine dragon of the divine dragon race. He's being chased and is about to enter our territory. Leader, what should we do? One of the elves asked. Shoot the guy who's chasing after him. The elf leader in the center said without hesitation. A third-order universe sovereign plant-type demonic beast. We need to attack together. The bow appeared in his hand and the bowstring was pulled back slowly. Chapter 3497. Swoosh. Wang Xian followed the leader of the elf tribe and flew towards the center of the elf tribe. The deeper they went, the more intense the vitality. A river appeared around them. The water was so clear that one could see the bottom. Many demonic beasts lived in the river. Ahead is the Celestial Flower City. It's the lair of the Celestial Flower Tribe, a subsidiary tribe of the Elf Tribe. Let's teleport over from here. The leader of the Elf Tribe pointed to the front and introduced to Wang Xian. Wang Xian nodded his head and looked at the beautiful Celestial Flower City. Instead of calling it the Celestial Flower City, it was more appropriate to call it the Celestial Flower Garden. The city walls were formed by the branches of a special kind of flower. From afar it looked exceptionally beautiful. Greetings, sir. Wang Xian and the rest flew over to the teleportation formation. The plant-type demonic beasts greeted the leader of the elf tribe. The leader of the elf tribe nodded his head and stepped into the teleportation formation. Wang Xian nodded his head and followed in. In the next moment, Wang Xian felt an incomparably dense spiritual energy and majestic vitality surging towards him. The life force here was extremely dense. Just taking a breath of it was like drinking immortal wine. Wang Xian was astonished. The energy here was too dense. Compared to the Dragon Palace, the difference was too great. Dad, I can feel the same aura. Lingling said as she looked ahead. Wang Xian lifted his head and looked ahead. He was astonished. A lush green tree stood between heaven and earth. This tree was incomparably dazzling and huge. This tree was the largest tree that Wang Xian had ever seen. On it, many elves were jumping and playing on the branches. The branches floated and sometimes played with the elves. An extremely dense vitality was emitted from this tree. There were even human-shaped fruits growing on the branches. Wang Xian's eyes sparkled as he looked at it. The entire tree stood between heaven and earth as though it was the center of this world. This is the tree of life? Wang Xian asked the leader of the elf tribe in astonishment. This is our mother, the mother that gave birth to us elves. The leader of the elf tribe looked ahead with eyes full of respect. The elf tribe was born a few eons ago. It was said that the tree of life gave birth to the elf tribe and nurtured a pinnacle tribe. It was rumored that this race had a fairy empress, who was above the ruler level. There was no doubt about the elf's strength. Let's go, I'll bring you to meet the elves' royal family. The elf captain retracted his gaze and said with a smile. Wang Xian nodded. The two of them flew towards the direction of the tree of life. The tree of life wasn't as domineering and imposing as Wang Xian had imagined. On the contrary, its branches were toying with the little fairies. The sound of laughter could be heard from far away. The surroundings were very harmonious and filled with the aura of nature. Wang Xian scanned the surroundings and found it unusually harmonious. Compared to other places, this place was filled with warmth. There was no hostility, no killing intent, and no killing intent. Lord Companion Spirit. That foreign life form actually has a companion spirit. That's true. How did he give birth to a companion spirit? As they neared the tree of life, some of the elves noticed the companion spirit on Wang Xian's shoulder and discussed it curiously. Lingling was also sizing them up with a curious expression. It's the tree of life. This is also my first time seeing it. The water tentacle king, who had been lying on Wang Xian's shoulder, looked ahead with shock in its eyes. Even the water tentacle king had to look up to the fairy race. This was one of the truly invincible races in the universe. Wait here for a moment, my friend. The elf captain came to the front of the tree of life and said. After which, he flew towards the top of the tree of life. Wang Xian took a look below. Lingling and the water tentacle king were also looking around curiously. Swoosh. Just as the elf captain left, the tree of life suddenly extended a branch and came before Wang Xian and the rest. A leaf on the branch gradually grew bigger and came before them. In the next moment, the branch of the tree of life brought him towards the trunk. Dragon King, the tree of life seems to be very friendly to us. If she gives us some life liquid, we'll be rich. The water tentacle king exclaimed in a low voice with excitement on its face. Wang Xian's eyes flickered when he saw this. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. At this moment, as Wang Xian and the rest were brought over by the tree of life, elves appeared one after another. Every single elf was filled with the aura of nature. When they saw this, they were slightly shocked and didn't say a word. Wang Xian was shocked to see more than 30 elves appearing at the side. All of them were great elves. 8 of them even had a companion elf floating beside them. These companion elves were looking at Lingling curiously. This companion elf is a child of our tribe that was left outside. For some unknown reason, it was born and has already formed a life and death contract with this divine dragon. A great angel was looking at Wang Xian and Lingling. This divine dragon isn't simple. His body contains the 5 elements in yin-yang. The wings on his back are also incredible treasures. It's almost a part of his body. One of the elves looked at Wang Xian and immediately saw through him. If I'm not wrong, the one on his shoulder is a giant space beast. An injured giant space beast that was once a First Order Universe Lord. Another great angel looked at the water tentacle king. This divine dragon's luck is really strong. A few great angels were discussing. Wang Xian and the rest seemed to have no secrets in front of it. Just as the great angels were discussing, another branch of the tree of life came to Wang Xian and the rest. On this branch there was a leaf with 3 drops of crystal clear liquid on it. The branch came to Wang Xian. 1 drop fell on Lingling's head while the other fell on the water lotus staff in Lingling's hand. The last drop fell on Wang Xian's body. This is... Wang Xian was shocked when he sensed the energy contained in this drop of liquid. Life liquid. This is the life liquid of the tree of life. Ah, Lord Tree of Life, can you give me a drop? The water tentacle king suddenly cried out and pleaded to the branch. However, the tree of life ignored her. When the life liquid fell on Wang Xian's head, it immediately entered his body. A part of it was converted into energy while the rest was absorbed by the progenitor tree. Wang Xian's body trembled as the energy was converted into dragon energy. He was about to break through. Chapter 3498. It was just a drop of life liquid. After being absorbed by the progenitor tree, the energy contained within was enough for Wang Xian to achieve a breakthrough. He couldn't imagine how terrifying the energy contained within the life liquid was. Roar roar. The crazy energy was converted into dragon energy. He couldn't help but let out a deep roar as he transformed into a divine dragon. A divine dragon glowing in 9 colors stood below the progenitor tree. 9 attributes. He has 9 attributes in him. Although the wind and thunder attributes have yet to be fully integrated, this is amazing. An ambassador stared at Wang Xian's dragon body and exclaimed in shock. The 5 elements in light and darkness have been fully integrated. In other words, he has 7 attributes perfectly. Even the 5 elements Dragon King, one of the strongest divine dragons in the past, pales in comparison. He is the fusion of the 5 elements Dragon King and the light and darkness Dragon King. Several great elves stared at Wang Xian's body with undisguised shock. This was the first time they had seen a divine dragon with 7 attributes. This was also the first time they had seen such a heaven-defying existence. Could it be that the last bit of luck of the divine dragon tribe is on him? One of the great elves couldn't help but ask. He's going to break through. The 20-odd great elves watched as Wang Xian broke through. Ka. Waves of dragon power swept across the surroundings. However, it didn't affect the surroundings much. The elf captain looked on in shock at this tug. Life liquid. Their tree of life had given him 3 drops of life liquid. Ding. Congratulations on breaking through to level 6 universe supremacy. You have comprehended the law of Dharma. Life dragon breath. Before long, Wang Xian was overjoyed by the system's notification. Name: Wang Xian. Race: Yin Yang Wind and Thunder. 5 elements Divine Dragon, Human Dragon Unification. Level: Level 6 Universe Supremacy, 9th Transformation of Divine Dragon Transformation. Origin Source: 1%, 99% required for next breakthrough. Superpower: Dominate the marine animals, rule all marine animals that are lower than your own level, devour living creatures. Extract origin source from living creatures. 5 elements Control Art of Cultivation. Divine Dragon Transformation Superpowers. Soul Assimilation, Spiritual Attachment Superpowers. Dragon Eyes Lock, 5 elements Dragon Claw. Yin Yang World Breaker, 8 Luminaries Dragon Scale, Saint Dragon Shadow, 8 Dragon Legs. Dragon Tomb, Cloud Dragon Soaring, True Dragon Body Dharma Form. 8 Directional Dragon Pillar, 8 Dragons Clone, Towering Dragon Horn, Mighty Dragon, Divine Tail Playing with Pearls, Dragon Breath of Life. Law of Mastery. Metal, Wood, Water, Fire, Earth, Light, Darkness, Wind, Lightning. Divine Kingdom. Dragon Palace. Possess Dragon Palace. Queen. Members of Dragon Palace. With a thought, the attributes appeared in Wang Xian's mind, which made him smile. He opened his dragon eyes and scanned his surroundings. He immediately transformed into his human form and cupped his hands toward the Tree of Life in front of him. Thank you, Lord Tree of Life. Thank you, Lords of the Elf Clan. Wang Xian said gratefully. The value of the life liquid was priceless. This wasn't something that could be bought or exchanged for just because you had divine stones or treasures. The only way to obtain the life liquid was through the Tree of Life. However, the Tree of Life was the mother tree of the elven race, and obtaining a single drop of it was undoubtedly an incomparably powerful fortune. Tree of Life, Mother gave you the liquid of life, so she naturally has her ways. Welcome, Divine Dragon, to our elven race. A great elf with a companion spirit smiled at Wang Xian and held a magic staff in the middle. I was also being hunted down and ended up here unintentionally. Thank you, Elf Clan. Wang Xian cupped his hands toward them again. This is an opportunity and fortune that belongs to you and also to us. That great elf said plainly. Swish. Isn't this the aura I sensed from the 12th tier water lotus? It's indeed the aura of a companion spirit. At this time, another great elf flew over. Wang Xian looked over with radiance in his eyes. Greetings, great elf, Life Sound Arrow. You're welcome. The Life Sound Arrow shook its head and looked at Lingling. At this moment, the water lotus in Lingling's hand had expanded to the size of a human head. Lingling had absorbed the life liquid and was sleeping soundly in the lotus. Sound Arrow, have you guys seen it before? A great elf looked at the Life Sound Arrow and asked curiously. When I was fighting for the 12th tier water lotus not long ago, I sensed this aura. I didn't expect to encounter it so soon. The Life Sound Arrow answered with a smile. Divine Dragon Friend, let's go in. A great elf said to him. Thank you. Wang Xian replied and nodded to them. Following closely behind the group of great elves, Wang Xian followed them to a huge wooden hut on the Tree of Life. The items in the wooden hut were simple and natural. Some fresh flowers decorated the hut, making it extremely beautiful. I wonder how did our divine dragon friend obtain a companion spirit? A great elf looked at the half-life elf lying in the water lotus and couldn't help but ask. By chance I came across the fruit of a half-life elf. In the past, I obtained some life liquid and placed it in the water lotus to nurture it. Wang Xian explained and covered up the matter of the progenitor tree completely. The secret of the progenitor tree, Wang Xian couldn't let anyone know about the system. That's really a coincidence. A great elf raised an eyebrow and nodded. He didn't ask for more details. I wonder if you're interested in joining the elf race. The great elf in the middle with a companion spirit asked Wang Xian. Join the elf race? Wang Xian's eyes flickered and he shook his head immediately. To be honest, I'm the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace, Wang Xian. I want the divine dragon race to return to its peak. Dragon King of the Dragon Palace? I've heard of this before, but I didn't expect you to be the Dragon King. A great elf on the right heard of Wang Xian's name and sized him up again in surprise. Return the divine dragon race to its peak? The life sound arrow chuckled and exchanged glances with the great elf beside him. That's possible. I've seen that guy from the ancestral dragon bloodline. A great elf who looked a little pale smiled and looked at Wang Xian. In terms of talent and opportunities, he isn't as good as you. It's very unlikely for him to return the divine dragon bloodline to its peak. You, on the other hand, have a higher chance. Senior, you're flattering me. However, it won't be long before I bring the divine dragon race back to its peak. Wang Xian's eyes beamed with confidence. Now that he had broken through, he wasn't far from the last step. Given your opportunities, you might not have a 100% chance of breaking through to the Universe Lord realm, but there's a 90% chance. However, let me remind you. The old great elf looked at Wang Xian and pondered for a moment. If you want the Dragon Palace to return to its peak and enter the ranks of the peak races in the universe, it's best to have a few dozen divine dragons at the Universe Lord realm. Wang Xian was slightly surprised when he heard him. Why was it best to have a few dozen? Chapter 3499. Why a few dozen? Wang Xian couldn't help but ask this question. Once a race had a Universe Lord, it could be called a pinnacle race. A Universe Lord was a qualitative change. Because of resources and war. There are some things you haven't come into contact with and there's no need to know now. You need to know that a Universe Lord has no say in the pinnacle races of the universe. The pinnacle races of the universe have a rule that they can't interfere with the matters below. This is the rule and no pinnacle race dares to break it. However, once you become a pinnacle race, this rule will no longer exist. Of course, there are rules between the pinnacle races. There are almost no fights, but there are things more terrifying than fighting. Therefore, becoming a pinnacle race might not be a good thing. When you have a few dozen Universe Lord experts under you, you can announce that the Dragon Palace has returned to the pinnacle. The old elf continued to speak to him. Although his words weren't vague, Wang Xian couldn't get much information out of it. The rules of the pinnacle races? Resources? Or things more terrifying than fighting? Don't think too much about it. There are still billions of years before the calamity. Work hard and improve yourself. I look forward to you leading the divine dragon race to rise again. The great elf in the middle chuckled. I definitely will. Wang Xian nodded and replied with a smile. Currently, the peak races in the universe had a large number of sovereign realm experts. Although Wang Xian didn't know how many Universe Lords there were in the past, there should be no less than 10,000. This was his least guess, but he wasn't sure how many there were. As for the rules and war, this wasn't common knowledge. He wasn't sure if the seniors of the divine dragon race had purposely hidden it, or if they were afraid that some things would be a form of pressure. Wang Xian was more inclined to the latter. Dragon King, you can come to our tribe anytime and cultivate here. You can also hide here if you encounter danger. Given your current strength, it'll be hard for anyone below the Universe Lord realm to kill you. As for those at the Universe Lord realm, with our tribe watching over you, no one will dare to break the rules and touch you. Work hard and we'll form a good relationship with you today. The great elf in the middle chuckled. Thank you, Senior. I'll remember your kindness today. Wang Xian cupped his hands together and stood up. With gratitude written all over his face, he said, My Dragon Palace will definitely repay you in the future. I won't disturb you anymore. What goes around comes around. In that case, Dragon King, we won't hold you back any longer. In the future, you can summon your companion spirit and come and go as you please. The great elf in the center said with a smile. Wang Xian nodded, cupped his fist again and left. Given Wang Xian's current strength and capability, He wasn't qualified to repay her kindness today. Wang Xian would never forget the kindness of the elf race and the friendship of the great elf race. Flying out, Wang Xian took a look behind him before flying back to where he came from. Crash. Just as he was flying forward, a leaf suddenly floated towards him. This is a leaf. The leaves fell in front of him, and a calm voice appeared in his mind. Wang Xian was taken aback. He picked up the leaf beside him and a stream of information surged into his mind. One leaf. Blinding. This was a leaf that could conceal one's attributes. Even in battle, it could conceal the aura of one's attributes. Wang Xian moved his palm and a flame appeared in his hand. From the perspective of the dark ghost doppelganger, he could see and sense that it was a red branch. With a wave of his palm, the flame condensed into a fire sword. From the perspective of the dark ghost doppelganger, it was a wooden sword. Blinding by a leaf. An extremely powerful concealment treasure. It was simply inconceivable. This was to better conceal more of the attributes contained in his body. Thank you, senior from the elf race. In the future, I, Wang Xian, will repay you tenfold or even 100-fold. Wang Xian turned around to express his gratitude before flying out. Swish, 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 swish. While Wang Xian was flying, the group of great elves on the Tree of Life flew out and looked up. Queen, you're paying attention to him too. The group of great elves came to the top of the Tree of Life and looked at a beautiful wooden hut formed by the Tree of Life with respect. He has great potential. The divine dragon race needs a leader like him. A voice came from the wooden hut. 7 attributes. Indeed, it's a little overpowered. I wonder if he can step into your realm, the realm of the water divine dragon, Great Rao. The aged great elf said softly. Difficult. A word came from the wooden hut. The rest of the great elves nodded. The more attributes one had, the stronger one would be. However, to reach the invincible realm, the more attributes one had. Instead, it would be more difficult. Let's hope there'll be another elite race when the calamity arrives. One of the great elves sighed. I owe them a big favor this time. Wang Xian didn't like to owe people favors. However, he did owe the elf race a lot this time. 3 drops of life liquid. One of them allowed him to break through. One was given to Ling Ling, and the other was absorbed by the 12th tier water lotus. After the 12th tier water lotus absorbed it, the 3 flower buds grew several times bigger. This surprised Wang Xian. The level of the Tree of Life couldn't be described as a primordial treasure divine tree. It was probably just a step away from creation stage. However, he would never be able to cross this step. Legend had it that one attribute could only give birth to one creation stage. With the divine tree as the creation stage, there wouldn't be a second one. The progenitor tree was the creation stage. After arriving at the immortal flower city through the teleportation array, Wang Xian flew towards the land of entanglement at a terrifying speed. The golden ring plant demonic beasts had been killed by the experts of the elf race. However, there were still 8 second-order universe sovereigns there. Before Green Dragon Shadow gained control of the Green Dragon Dragon Palace, it would be hard for these experts to fend them off. Wang Xian sent a message to them before continuing his journey. After breaking through, his speed had reached a shocking level. He had been on the run for over 2 months. Now he had reached the sky above the land of entanglement in 2 hours. At this time, Green Dragon Shadow, Green Dragon Moon, and the rest had also sent him a message. His eyes flickered when he saw the message. Green Dragon Shadow had yet to gain complete control of the Dragon Palace. However, he was preventing the plant demonic beasts experts from taking the Dragon Palace. Currently, they were still in a stalemate. The great elves had been changed to ambassadors. Chapter 3500. That group of demonic beasts still hasn't left. Is it because they haven't received news of the death of that third-order sovereign realm heaven plant? With a flap of the unbeginning saint wings, Wang Xian dived into the underground river of the entangled land at a terrifying speed. After entering the underground river, his speed increased again. In fact, they had already received news of the death of the golden ring heaven plant beast. Furthermore, the mirror image of the golden ring heaven plant demon beast before its death had already been transmitted to the heaven plant demon beast race. Seeing the mirror image, the heaven plant's demon beast patriarch was speechless. His face was full of embarrassment and anger as he cursed, "Idiot, you're courting death." If he wasn't an idiot, then what was? In order to chase after a second-order sovereign realm divine dragon, he actually dared to barge into the fairy race's territory. Wasn't he courting death? Barging into the territory of a peak race, there was no way to escape even if he wanted to. As for the divine dragon, it seemed to them that it was also dead. Even the golden ring heaven plant beast was dead, not to mention the mystical dragon. In order to chase after a divine dragon, he ended up losing his life. It was extremely foolish. When the 8 heaven plant demonic beasts received this news, other than being shocked, they didn't leave. Lord Golden Ring Heavenly Plant was dead, and so was that divine dragon. However, none of this would stop them from completely suppressing and collecting this dragon palace. In the sky above the dragon palace, the tree was still swallowing the entire dragon palace. 90% of the dragon palace's surface area had been covered by its branches. Soon the entire dragon palace would be devoured. At that time they would be able to easily take it. At most 3 days. Continue to inject energy and guard the last dragon gate. Don't let them escape. A heaven plant demonic beast expert shouted. The other 7 nodded. Whoosh. However, just as they finished their words, Wang Xian appeared in front of the dragon palace. Silently, the 8 heaven plant demonic beasts did not sense his arrival. Courting death. Wang Xian looked at the 8 heaven plant demonic beasts coldly. Crash. The unbeginning saint wings flapped, and she instantly attacked the 8 heaven plant demonic beast experts. Quick. It was extremely fast. Before the 8 heaven plant demon beasts could react, Wang Xian had already passed by them. Wang Xian's current speed was comparable to a true universe ruler realm existence. Pu. When Wang Xian arrived above the dragon palace, the piercing sound was heard. A faint smile appeared on his face. Bam bam bam. There were no screams or sounds as the 8 corpses fell to the ground. With a wave of his arm, Wang Xian kept all their corpses. Whoosh. He moved to the side of the devouring dragon palace's divine tree and sized it up. It was a connate cardinal treasure, not a living divine tree. A stream of energy landed on it and the branches covering the dragon palace retracted rapidly, disappearing from sight. At this moment, within the dragon palace, the azure dragon whiskered shadow was refining the dragon palace, resisting the other party's suppression. When he saw the branch disappear in an instant, he revealed a shocked expression. It's the Dragon King. It's the Dragon King. At that moment, an expert of the ancestral dragon bloodline exclaimed as he looked outside from the entrance of the dragon gate. It's really the Dragon King. Where are the experts of the heaven plant demonic beast clan? Azure Dragon Suing and the others were startled and immediately headed outside. Dragon King. They flew out and shouted at Wang Xian. Hee, brother Azure Dragon Suing, are you guys alright? Wang Xian looked at them and asked with a smile. Brother Wang Xian, we are fine. What about the experts of the heaven plant demonic beast clan? Azure Dragon Suing asked doubtfully. It's settled. Brother Azure Dragon Suing, hurry up and refine the dragon palace. Wang Xian replied to him. It's settled? Azure Dragon Suing widened his eyes and was moved. Brother Wang Xian, I'm almost done refining the dragon palace. I can move it now. Alright, let's head back. Wang Xian nodded his head. Azure Dragon Suing nodded his head. Brother Wang Xian, how did you get rid of that heaven plant demonic beast with the combat strength of a third-order universe sovereign? Azure Dragon Yu asked Wang Xian in surprise. I didn't get rid of him. I escaped to the border of the fairies and they killed him. Wang Xian looked at him. The fairies? Azure Dragon Yu was taken aback. I was lucky this time, Wang Xian said. Wang Xian replied. He was indeed lucky this time. It was also fortunate that he had a companion spirit. Otherwise he might have been killed by the fairies. It's all thanks to brother Wang Xian this time. If not for you we wouldn't have any gains. Azure Dragon Suing said gratefully. Hee, if not for Azure Dragon Suing and the rest, I wouldn't have such gains. Let's go. Wang Xian shook his head and entered the dragon palace. The Azure Dragon Beard Shadow controlled the dragon palace and flew out. In the dragon palace, Azure Dragon Yu and the rest were exhilarated. Their trip this time was considered a complete success. The group of experts from the ancestral dragon lineage invited Wang Xian for a celebration. For the next dozen days Wang Xian stayed in the dragon palace. He was prepared to escort Azure Dragon Suing and the rest to a safe place before leaving. Wang Xian was no longer afraid of most of the existences in the chaotic continent. According to the fairies, universe sovereign realm experts were forbidden from interfering with their race. Therefore, only experts of the same level with inborn cardinal treasures could suppress him. He was almost invincible. Even an expert with a connate cardinal treasure would find it difficult to kill him. Days passed. Wang Xian, Azure Dragon Yu, and the rest communicated about certain matters. Time passed by quickly. A few months later, they came to the forest where they had agreed to meet previously. Brothers, I'll make a move first. Take care. Wang Xian cupped his fists and said to Azure Dragon Suing and the rest of the experts from the ancestral dragon lineage. All right. Brother Wang Xian, you have to be careful too. Azure Dragon Suing and the rest nodded and cupped their fists in response. Wang Xian nodded and parted with them. Why do I feel that Brother Wang Xian has grown stronger again? Azure Dragon Suing mumbled to himself as he watched Wang Xian disappear. Indeed. I can't see through him anymore. Azure Dragon, you nodded. Moreover, his dragon palace is terrifying. The number of spike dragons is definitely not small. The 100 Cities Alliance is almost crippled by the dragon palace. It's a little difficult to cripple them. The foundation of the 100 Cities Alliance is too strong. We, the ancestral dragon lineage, know that they are involved, but we turned a blind eye. The dragon palace has caused them great trouble, but their foundation and strength are still there. Azure Dragon Suing said slowly. Chapter 3501. At the same time, Wang Xian bade farewell to Azure Dragon Shadow and the rest. Just as he arrived at the Dragon Palace, he heard a roar of excitement. When Wang Xian heard this voice, he was slightly taken aback. Buzz. In a flash, he appeared at the Dragon Gate in the north of the Dragon Palace. There, the devouring dragons raised their heads and roared excitedly. The Fire Dragon Palace and the Demonic Dragon Dark World had completely disappeared. Roving Crab was in the middle, and he emitted the aura of a second-order sovereign. So. At this moment, many figures flew over. These figures also emitted the aura of a second-order universe sovereign, and there were 2 Radiance Divine Dragons among them. Greetings, Dragon King. Aosia and the rest greeted respectfully when they saw Wang Xian. The 2 Radiance Divine Dragons and the rest of the second-order universe sovereigns from the Dragon Palace also saluted. Get up, you've improved a lot this time. Wang Xian swept his gaze across them and revealed a faint smile. He had already placed the 8 heaven plant beasts he killed in the Dragon Palace. It had been completely absorbed by the members of Dragon Palace. Currently, the Dragon Palace had a total of 28 second-order sovereigns, including Aosia and the other devouring dragons with second-order sovereigns' combat strength. With the combat strength of 28 second-order sovereigns, including him, their strength was not much weaker than the 100 Cities Alliance. The only people weaker than the 100 Cities Alliance in the Dragon Palace were first-order sovereigns and venerables. After all, they still had more than 90 cities. Dragon King, I heard that our Dragon Palace is currently fighting with another force. Now that our devouring dragon has been upgraded, when are we going to deal with them? Aosia's eyes emitted intense battle intent as he spoke. Haha, don't be anxious. We will take action immediately. Wang Xian glanced at them and smiled. Follow me. Let's head to the Eternal River first. As he spoke, he moved and arrived at the location of the teleportation formation. Aosia and the others immediately followed behind and stepped into the teleportation formation. Boss. Prime Minister Turtle, call Ao Yao and the rest of the 8-limbed Devil Fiend Sky formation here. Wang Xian instructed Prime Minister Turtle as soon as he arrived. It's Dragon King. Upon hearing the order, Prime Minister Turtle immediately responded. Yaki Demon Sha and the rest were looking for opportunities to kill the disciples and experts of the 100 Cities Alliance. Roving demons stood guard around the 100 Cities Alliance. The 100 Cities Alliance was forced into a passive position by the spike dragons. The Spinulosaurus species had also been lying in wait around a fixed city. It could appear in this city or it could appear in another city. In short, in order to prevent themselves from being surrounded by the experts of the 100 Cities Alliance, they would not always stay around a city to carry out assassinations. Right now, the 100 Cities Alliance didn't have any good ideas. They could only protect the inside of the city, but they couldn't do anything to the outside. Recently, not many people from the 100 Cities Alliance left their cities. If they wanted to get out, they would do it in a special way. For example, he could instantly return to the Divine Kingdom hidden outside. Most of the disciples and experts of the 100 Cities Alliance went into seclusion for tens of thousands of years. Buzz. Greetings, Dragon King. Not long after, Orochi and the rest returned. How's the situation of the 100 Cities Alliance recently? Wang Xian asked with a smile. Dragon King, it's a little difficult to assassinate the disciples and experts of the 100 Cities Alliance now. They're either holed up in the city, or they're entering and exiting the city through the teleportation formation or other means. Roving Demon reported. Get all the spiky dragons to retreat. There's no need for us to continue wasting time with them. Wang Xian said plainly as he looked at Orochi and Demon Fiend. Orochi, you guys have a better understanding of the 100 Cities Alliance. Choose 15 cities. One will have a second-order universe sovereign, and the rest will have first-order universe sovereigns. Alright, Dragon King. Dragon King, what should we do this time? Orochi and Roving Demon nodded their heads and asked with flickering eyes. Attack directly. Wang Xian's eyes revealed a sinister look. We'll strike instantly and attack 15 cities at the same time. Attack 15 cities at the same time? Orochi and Roving Demon's eyes flickered as they looked around. When they saw the experts from Dragon Palace, they nodded their heads slightly. This was sufficient. Dragon Palace, given our strength, we can easily annihilate 15 cities. However, we might still encounter danger. The leader of the 100 Cities Alliance has the combat strength of a third-order universe sovereign. Orochi said. Therefore we have to be careful this time. If we encounter the leader of the 100 Cities Alliance, escape immediately. Wang Xian nodded his head. There was only one third-order universe sovereign in the 100 Cities Alliance, and that was the leader of the 100 Cities Alliance. According to the information, the other party was a sorcerer and did not have any inborn cardinal treasures. He shouldn't be a match for Wang Xian. Of course, Wang Xian couldn't be 100% sure when facing the strongest expert of such a huge force. Dragon King, I think we can attack these 15 cities. Orochi and Demon Fiend discussed for a while and wrote down the 15 cities. These 15 cities were closer to where they were, and it would take them less time to fly there. Sure. Wang Xian nodded his head immediately when he saw it. Do you think you're safe just because you're holed up in the cities? This time, the strength of Wang Xian and the members of Dragon Palace had reached a certain level. They could attack directly. This time it would be a real competition of strength. Although Dragon Palace was still not as strong as the 100 Cities Alliance. The 100 Cities Alliance was, after all, a loose alliance. All their strength wasn't concentrated. Therefore Wang Xian and the rest had a high chance of success. Get ready? After confirming the 15 cities, Wang Xian's eyes flashed with murderous intent. I'll get Enlai to bring us there one by one. This time, let's make the 100 Cities Alliance more miserable. Although the 15 cities were the closest to where they were, it would take at least a year for them to fly over. Given Wang Xian's current speed, it would take at least a year for them to fly over. After all, there were 15 cities. There was a long distance between the cities. Moreover, there weren't any teleportation formations. It would take even longer for Orochi and the rest to finish their preparations. If Enlai wanted to go, he would be able to make all the preparations within 10 days. Yes. Orochi and the rest nodded their heads. Soon Enlai arrived after receiving the order. He started to teleport towards the 15 cities. As the days passed, Wang Xian waited patiently in the Dragon Palace. Dragon King, Demon Fiend and the rest have made the arrangements. You're the only one left. Half a month later, Dark Blaze's figure appeared and reported. Let's go. Wang Xian nodded his head. Chapter 3502. 1. Daming City was a powerful city in the 100 Cities Alliance. It had 2 Universe Lord level experts guarding it. Within the 100 Cities Alliance, it was one of the more advanced cities. Ever since the war between the 100 Cities Alliance and the Divine Dragon Palace broke out, cities with second-order sovereigns' combat strength were greatly affected. At this moment, Daming City was much livelier than the other cities. After all, the number of disciples of the 100 Cities Alliance was too great. After the successive destruction of a number of cities and the Dragon Palace's Thorn Dragons, although the 100 Cities Alliance's disciples rarely left the cities, they could still teleport within the cities. With over 90 cities, the area was large enough. Teleporting to a stronger city was also a guarantee of safety. Daming City might not be as bustling as before, but there were still many people walking around. Wang Xian's figure gradually appeared in front of Daming City. His gaze swept across the city in front of him. He took out the Universe AI and sent a message to Baki Demon Fiend, Ao Yao and the rest. Dragon King, we're ready? Soon replies came in one after another. Attack together in 10 minutes. Once you see the Alliance leader teleporting over, escape immediately. Wang Xian gave the timing of the attack. Yes. Orochi and the rest replied immediately. Wang Xian looked at Daming City, flapped his unbeginning saint wings and approached it slowly. He couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't be discovered when he entered the city. Therefore he planned to attack in 10 minutes. If I were to fly from this city gate to the other gate, it would take me 30 seconds at top speed. Wang Xian mumbled to himself as he arrived at Daming City. In 30 seconds he could turn a third of the city into ruins. The Dragon Palace's counterattack officially begins today. I'd like to see how the 100 Cities Alliance is going to resist. Wang Xian narrowed his eyes as he stood there quietly, waiting for the time to arrive. 10 minutes passed quickly. Boom. When the last second arrived, Wang Xian flapped his unbeginning saint wings, and the 5 elements grindstone appeared in his hand. Waves of energy surged into it, turning into dead energy. The leaf on his body emitted a beam of light. From the outside world's perception, this was a strange wood attribute energy. Dark Ghost's doppelganger appeared beside him. He headed straight for Daming City. The 5 elements Great Grindstone in Xiao Chen's hand released a destructive energy that covered the area below. It covered a third of the city's width. In the next moment, a strange and terrifying scene appeared. Boom boom boom. Wang Xian pushed his speed to the maximum. Wherever he flew past, he was hit by the destructive energy. Below them, all the buildings collapsed and all the disciples of Daming City died instantly. Apart from the roar, there wasn't even a scream. Wang Xian stared at him without any mercy in his eyes. Those who were still in the cities of the 100 Cities Alliance were all loyal core disciples of the 100 Cities Alliance. If they were alive, they would attack the Dragon Palace in the future. The war between the two sides had already reached the point where either you die or I die. Beep beep beep. When Wang Xian suddenly dashed into the city, the alarm at the center of Daming City rang suddenly. The urgent voice resounded throughout the city lord's mansion, causing everyone to be slightly startled. Look over there. Hey, what's this? A few experts in the city lord's mansion looked ahead. They saw a green light shrouding the area below them like a poisonous fog. The buildings collapsed and the disciples and experts died instantly. It was as though doomsday had arrived. Moreover, this doomsday was spreading towards them at a terrifying speed. This caused their expressions to change drastically, and their faces were filled with fear. What? At this moment, 2 old men in the center of the city lord's mansion flew into the sky and looked over. They couldn't see any figures. All they saw was a huge green poisonous fog shrouding over. The speed was terrifying. The war between the Dragon Palace and the 100 Cities Alliance officially begins. Wang Xian's eyes were fixed on the 2 figures in the direction of the city lord's mansion. They couldn't see Wang Xian because his speed was too fast. But Wang Xian could see them. 2 second-order universe sovereigns. Oh no, run or it'll be too late. At this moment, the 2 second-order universe sovereigns from Daming City felt death and doomsday looming over them. Their expressions changed drastically as they roared. They quickly flew downwards, trying to break through the defenses of the blessed land of cultivation. It's the voice of an expert from the Dragon Palace. How is this possible? This is definitely the destructive power of a third-order universe sovereign. How can there be such a terrifying expert in the Dragon Palace? When they heard Wang Xian's voice, they roared in disbelief. What was the strength of the Dragon Palace in the beginning? A first-order universe sovereign was already the strongest. Now, there was actually a third-order universe sovereign. This made them feel incredulous. Boom. Not good. Just as they were fleeing downwards, a pair of dazzling dragon horns suddenly attacked them from below. The speed of the dragon horns was even more terrifying. When they saw this scene, their expressions changed drastically. They hurriedly flew up into the sky to avoid this terrifying attack. Boom. In the next moment, the entire city lord's mansion below them was turned into ruins. One strike, just one strike. It's definitely a third-order universe sovereign. Run, all disciples of Daming City, run. When the 2 second-order sovereigns saw this, their eyes nearly popped out of their sockets as they roared in fear. Don't even think of escaping. At this time, a voice sounded in their ears. In the next moment they saw a figure close to them. They were very familiar with this figure. They had seen his portrait before. The Dragon King of Dragon Palace. How could it be? Their eyes were wide open and their faces were filled with despair. How could it be the Dragon King of Dragon Palace? How could he be so strong? Boom. In the next moment, their vitality disappeared rapidly as they fell into endless darkness. Wang Xian kept the corpses and continued his attack without any hesitation. Run. At this time, the entire Daming City was in chaos. The sound of buildings collapsing, the roar of attacks, and the alarm of the city. It was doomsday. They could only flee frantically. However, under such a terrifying attack, the only ones who could escape were the disciples and experts of Daming City who were not covered by Wang Xian's attack. Even so, there were still many experts and disciples who could not react in time. Wang Xian's speed was too fast. so fast that they were in despair. They did not even have the time to escape back to their own holy kingdom. Chapter 3503. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Sounds of destruction reverberated in the sky above Daming City. The entire city was reduced to ruins at a frightening speed. Dozens of seconds later, Wuxia hovered in the sky above Daming City, looking coldly at the ruined city. No reinforcements are coming? Wuxia murmured with a chuckle. Dragon King, there are treasures here. I'll go and get them. The Aqua Tentacle King stared at the ruins of Daming City as he shouted to Wuxia. All right. Wuxia nodded as he hovered in the sky above Daming City. He did not escape immediately. Given his current strength, even if the leader of the 100 Cities Alliance came? So what? Given his strength, he could totally go against him. As for whether he could kill him, it would depend on the strength of the leader of the 100 Cities Alliance. The Aqua Tentacle King quickly collected the treasures in Daming City. Some water-attributed treasures were swallowed into his stomach. Wuxia sensed it but did not say anything. The Aqua Tentacle King was more useful than Tianjin in the Dragon Palace. After all, there were no shackles for him to reach the Universe Lord Realm. It would be extremely difficult for Tianjin to break through to the Universe Lord Realm. At this stage, it was no longer a problem of resources, but one's talent and luck. Just as Daming City was destroyed, the 14 cities closest to Daming City also suffered horrifying attacks. The attacks of the 8-limbed devil fiend Wuxia and the rest had brought disaster to the cities. Cries of agony spread across the 14 cities. 111. Just as Daming City and the other 14 cities were under attack, some of the 108 mountain peaks in the old lair of the 100 Cities Alliance started to tremble. This was a new form of alert for the 100 Cities Alliance. Once a city experienced the combat strength of a universe lord, the mountain peaks would tremble. Now 15 mountain peaks were trembling. This meant that 15 cities were under attack. Swish, swish, swish. In an instant, figures appeared in the sky above the 15 mountain peaks, including the leader of the 100 Cities Alliance. He stared at the 15 cities with a terrifying look in his eyes. 15 cities are under attack. Send reinforcements immediately and kill all the invaders. The leader of the 100 Cities Alliance bellowed. Swish. As his voice fell, he directly flew towards a mountain below. There was a teleportation portal on the mountain, and as soon as he landed on it, he disappeared. 2 people in a team, go and provide support. The 20 experts of the 100 Cities Alliance looked at each other and growled in a low voice. These 20 members were the trusted aides that the 100 Cities Alliance leader had nurtured for countless years. All of them were second-order sovereigns. They moved and landed on the teleportation formations on the various peaks. As for some of the cities that didn't have reinforcements, they couldn't care less. Ink Cloud City was one of the cities attacked by the experts of Dragon Palace. Beneath a ruin, a wave of terrifying energy came from below. Boom. The surrounding ruins immediately turned to ashes, and the figure of the 100 City Alliance's Alliance Master appeared. He sensed his surroundings, his face extremely gloomy. At this moment, half of the city had been reduced to ruins. In the sky in front of them, 2 figures were still wreaking havoc. Its massive body and terrifying claws would turn a large area into ruins every time it waved its claws. A terrifying existence is descending, we have to flee. At this instant, the 2 devouring dragons felt the aura of the 100 Cities Alliance leader, and their expressions changed. The Dragon King had reminded them to flee the moment they met a third-order universe sovereign. They did not hesitate. The 2 devouring dragons started to turn illusory, courting death. The 100 Cities Alliance leader saw the 2 devouring dragons turning illusory, and his face was filled with violence and bloodthirst. His body shook and the blood-red eyes on his chest released a red glow. A red light shot into the body of one of the devouring dragons. However, this red light seemed to have no offensive power, and it did not stop the devouring dragon from disappearing. Die. However, the 100 Cities Alliance leader did not care and he roared. He extended an arm and the red eyes on his chest turned into a sinister red eye. The eye disappeared in an instant. At the same time, the 2 devouring dragons returned from the Dragon Palace, and they heaved a sigh of relief. Ah! All of a sudden, one of the devouring dragons screamed, and a blood-red eye appeared in front of him. The devouring dragon's body started to crumble, and it turned into a puddle of blood. This was the mysterious ability of a sorcerer. Wong. The soul-returning wood on the progenitor tree trembled, and the souls of the devouring dragons were absorbed. Who are you? How dare you attack our 100 Cities Alliance's cities? Courting death. At the same time, in the other 10 cities, 22nd Order Universe sovereigns from the 100 Cities Alliance rushed over through the transmission array. When they saw the 2 Second Order Universe sovereigns wreaking havoc in the city, their expressions changed and they roared coldly. Ha ha, 100 Cities Alliance, don't you recognize your Dragon Palace grandpa? Just the two of you are here to help? The 8 limitless dragons stared at them, and his face was filled with mockery. Dragon Palace. When they heard the 2 words, their eyes were filled with killing intent. Dragon Palace, you're courting death. The 2 experts from the 100 Cities Alliance roared in anger, and they charged towards the 8 limitless dragons and the devouring dragons. We're courting death. Ah, you're the ones courting death. This time all 15 of your cities will be annihilated. The 8 limitless dragons laughed maniacally and they clashed with them. Against opponents of the same level, they weren't afraid. Brr, brr. The devouring dragon roared and it charged over, swiping with its claws. A single city couldn't withstand the might of 4 Second Order Universe sovereigns. Their battle caused the buildings in the city to rapidly collapse. Run, run. We can't get close to a battle of this level. All disciples run. Within the city, some of the surviving disciples and experts as well as the lords of the city, cried out in fear when they saw the battle that had broken out. The same scene was happening in the other 9 cities. Would the experts of the Dragon Palace be afraid of those at the same level as them? They would fight directly. It didn't take long for the sky above the cities to change color. Along with it, cities after cities were turned into ruins. To the experts and disciples in the cities, this was a disaster. As for the cities that didn't have reinforcements from the 100 Cities Alliance, they were already in ruins. Completely wiped out. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.